So a few weeks ago, I set myself a challenge. What would happen if I completely reimagined the visual identity for the FIFA World Cup 2026? Not because I thought the existing identity needed replacing, but because I wanted to explore a completely different way of telling the story. So this isn't a redesign, it's just a design exploration. So before I sketched anything, I went back to the brief. I wanted to understand what FIFA were really asking this identity to do. The more I read, the more one idea kept appearing: movement, travel, exchange. 3 countries sharing one tournament. Millions of supporters making journeys across the entire continent. That became the challenge. So how do you create a visual identity that captures all of that without simply drawing another football or another trophy? So I stopped thinking about logos completely. Instead, I started thinking about journeys. So if we get into the nuts and bolts of this project, I used my AI bolt system to start coming up with some symbols and icons that best could describe the tournament and best describe the keywords that translate into the images. So we've got movement, travel, continental. So as you can see there, I've started developing these basic symbols. Quite liked the bird to start with, and then I went into mountains, North America, and the road system here, which I eventually landed on. And then I developed this further into the different road systems. So the reason I think this was the best symbol to use, because if you look at it at big scale, it looks fine. If you go in really small, you can still see the shape of it. So then I went on to actually finish making the final design. And as you can see there, I've actually removed these sections here, so it continues the same as down here. So you've got this white sections of intercrossing road. And then the last decision was basically the color palette. So this was the more vibrant one. So I felt the more refined color palette actually reflected the tournament better. Then once I had that geometry, I realized I wasn't designing a logo anymore. I was designing a complete system. Those 4 paths became the DNA for everything: broadcast transmissions, player reveals, score graphics, stadium branding, digital experiences. Everything grows from exactly the same geometry. That means that the identity feels consistent whether it's on a phone screen or wrapped around an entire stadium. So the final step wasn't the logo, it was creating the world around it. I wanted the identity to feel unmistakably North American without relying on cliches. Instead of flags or landmarks, I focused on the atmosphere. When everything finally comes together, the story becomes incredibly simple. 4 paths, 3 host nations, 1 world, 1 destination. For me, that's what the 2026 World Cup is really about. Not just the final, but every journey that leads there.